them. I mean, we just use this now. I haven't put the wrong collar back on them.
Yeah, I think I've seen your pictures and stuff. Yeah, he's got the e-collar on. So what we'll do is we'll start off the review. I'll have you show me what you've been practicing, how you've been practicing it. Make sure that's all correct, and then we're going to work on the second half of heel today.
Okay. I don't see it moving him.
Yeah, what's your number right now?
45.
Go ahead and hit the vibrate function. Did you feel the vibrate?
Oh, no.
Okay, so maybe it heard off, yeah.
Ugh. There you go.
Hit the vibrate again.
Yeah.
Good. One more time.
The vibrate?
Yeah. Okay, so here, one more time. It's dying.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we just had this happen earlier.
Yeah.
So, have you charged this at all?
Not yet.
Okay.
Now that I think about it. I did before, I think like after the first time I took it out and used it, but not like since then.
Okay, so it's not a big deal if it dies today, because it's just movements and stuff.
I didn't think about it before coming here.
But yeah, it was funny because we had a client, same exact thing happened. I'm like, I don't think it's powered.
Yeah.
So the battery on the remote collar does not apply to the collar itself. On the remote, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the two separate.
Yeah, so the two separate things. Green is fully charged, orange is running low, red is dying.
So when you press the button and saw the red, that's what that meant? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one way to check it, okay? Because because she said the same thing earlier. She was like, I turned it on when I left and it was working, and I'm like, that's not a good sign. Okay, but it's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be real simple stuff today. We shouldn't need the remote too much.
Yeah.
And then it's a 2-hour quick charge, so if that ever does happen, 2 hours is fully charged.
Got it.
Okay. So go ahead and just show me what you've been practicing, okay? Just the walking back and forth. Good. Oh yeah, because last time we talked about the turning bit, right? Okay, I remember.
And then I just always forget my footing.
The movements.
I've gotten better.
There you go. A couple more. Excellent. Okay. So real simple, and I forgot because he wasn't here last time. This is Bill.
Hello.
My cameraman, and this is Samantha. So all that looked good. So yeah, okay, now I remember we did go over leg movements already.
Right.
So you have an idea of it, right?
Yeah.
Because we had the left, and then we had your pivots, and I remember you would rock.
Yeah, I was rocking back my weight.
Yeah.
Versus forward turn.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll have you do 3 of the crossovers, which will be left into Walter.
Okay.
And then 3 of the pivots to see if those are correct.
Okay.
Okay?
With the crossovers, I know we didn't really do.
Okay, then do what we covered,
Okay.
which I think is the pivots.
Yeah.
Because I saw that, and then I wanted to make sure you're practicing the habit correctly.
Yeah, just kind of gave me a heads up.
Very good. 2 more. Good. Excellent. Yep. Switch that. Very good. So all those are correct. I liked when he got distracted and gave that slack and he kind of made space. So that's really good. A lot of people tend to use the leash to like drag the dog along.
Right.
And if anything, I want to create more slack, more space, so I can remote them so that they close the gap. If you start doing that now, you're already building towards off-leash reliability. Okay. So the methods we use are for off-leash training. It's just whether or not the owner decides to practice that long and do the kind of progress it and do all the transitions. Yeah. You're looking at buddy.
He squirrels, probably. He loves birds and squirrels. That's his pointer.
Right, so what I'm having you do here is light tug to your left and tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and bump it. Tap.
Did that again?
Maybe. Did you hit the vibrate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. It won't be a big deal.
Right.
But like, let's say, you know, when you come to a stop, this is more so to start building that habit with you, is on the scope of what dogs could do, like him going, hey, what's that squirrel doing over there? Like, isn't terrible.
Right.
Who cares, right? But when we're in obedience mode, you have to be very black and white, because then for him it becomes like a gray area, and then he starts to test things.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, if we're stopped, his job is to put that butt down, nothing else. Right? If I cue brake, then I'm like, I don't care what you do, but he shouldn't be scooting in front of you. Okay? I like that he was sitting,
right,
but he shouldn't have done that, right? So we just correct them.
Let me see about this.
There you go. So the more black and white you are, the better he is, and the how do you say, the less confusing it is for him, because leniency and gray area is what causes dogs to kind of go like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? Okay. So no biggie on the remote collar, because this is really going to just be leg movements.
Right.
So your pivots are good. What we're going to now work on is the crossover turn. Oh, fat weenie dog.
That's where we're going later. My sister has 2 of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love dachshunds. So when we did the about right turn, we were leading that with that left leg, going back on the right and going back the opposite, right? So now with the left turn, or the crossover turn, because you're going to be crossing over Walter, we lead that with the right leg, okay? And when you cut over, you're going to cut at a 90-degree angle, so it's very sharp, okay? So you're walking, there he goes, and you, like if we use the sidewalk for an example, I step right on the line, then forward with my left, and then have a space, I have to cut in again. So I should stay within the sidewalk, okay?
Okay.
So I'm walking, right, left, right, very sharp cuts, very direct. If you do a soft right, like this, when you're leading with your left leg, you're gonna end up sending Walter out. So when you cut really sharp with the right leg, it gives them, it's kind of like a wall that the dogs, most dogs will stop or slow down because they don't want to collide. So it'll make space for your left leg so that you can continue with your right leg. There should be no need for a remote here, okay? When we do these leg movements correctly, they're visual cues to the dog so that when you're on an actual walk, you're not remoting all the time, okay? Because there's 2 parts to this. The first part was teaching Walter, hey, be mindful of me, pay attention, right? And now this part is teaching you how to use your body language to tell Walter what's going on. Okay, so it's like with driving, we have our blinkers and all that stuff, right? To communicate like, hey, I'm gonna switch lanes and stuff. Same thing for Walter. You know, you're the leader. You know what you're doing, right? He does it. So if we don't have these cues, even if you got a well-walking dog, you're constantly like fumbling all over the place because he doesn't know what you're doing, okay? So what we'll do is we'll do a batch of those crossover turns, right? So before you turn, what do you want to do?
Slow down.
Yes. Right, so make sure you do slow down at least 3 steps, more is fine. If you slow down for the turn and Walter keeps going, what would you do?
Just turn back?
Turn and tap, right? Because you want to do a correctional turn. So most people, when I tell them, especially, I'm like, hey, you know, we're doing left turns now. They get so focused on the left turn that when the dog passes, they'll like pull the dog back and try to run around the dog, but you're still correct, right? So those rules apply still. If he's not paying attention, you would turn and tap, reline him up, and then you would try doing the left turn, okay? Questions? All right, whenever you're ready. Right, left. Right,
Like
you got
so
it.
Awkward.
Yeah, once you get used to it.
Right. Plus, he's like
Yeah,
throwing
that
me
dog
off.
that distracted him a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, left, right. Very good. 3 more.
Oh no.
It's okay. But you see how that was awkward?
Yeah.
Right? So we'll try it again. Right, left, right. Very good. 2 more. Right, left, right. Very good. Last one. right, left, right, and then slow to stop when you're ready.
He's like all over the place right now.
That's okay. There we go. A lot of distractions here.
Yeah.
So,
Dog comment.
I actually skipped a step, and so we'll backtrack for a second. We're gonna start layering in the word heel.
Okay.
Okay, so heel means once you cue the word, everything we did last week, everything that we do this week kicks into effect. Okay. When we cue the heel, we want to get used to leading with that left foot now. Okay, which I talked about
Yeah.
last time. Yeah. So
Which I've been more cognizant of, but I still just.
there we go. So you're gonna say the word heel first, and then move forward with that left leg. Okay. So all you do here is you'll do a heel into motion, walk for a bit, come to a stop, have Walter sit, wait a moment, heel, left leg, and we're gonna repeat that 5 times. Okay.
Just the heel,
Yeah.
stopping, and keeping going.
Right,
Or do you
heel,
want to turn?
move for a bit, stop. You know, he sits, wait,
Yeah.
heel. If you go too far down, you can do your turn,
Okay.
then slow down to a stop, and you'll do 5 reps of that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not so much turn-based
Right.
as it is just getting used to the heel and the left leg mechanic.
Okay.
Okay,
So say it when I start.
say it before you start.
Okay.
Heel, then left leg.
Heel.
There you go. Perfect. Good.
Heel.
Good. Nice pivot. Oh, you did it?
Not when I turn.
And I had a spare collar in my bag, but I borrowed it to a client.
No.
So I forgot to put another one.
wasn't even thinking about that. Heel.
Bobby, it lasted 2 weeks. That's pretty good.
Right, and I was gone last weekend, so Dog Dad didn't use the remote.
Oh, gotcha.
He just put it on him to like get used to the wearing it.
Wearing it?
Yeah.
Got it. Good. So I was going to come around. Very good. Right. So, the reason why I do the word first is I think it's easier for people.
Right.
Because when they try to do both, they tend to stumble because you're working on both things at once. So I think it's easier to just heel than left leg. Once you've cued the word heel, you don't have to repeat it when you're in motion. So like if Walter were to pass you, you wouldn't turn and say heel tap, you would just turn and tap.
Okay.
Okay. Or when you're turning or anything like that, or like if you come to a stop, sometimes the times it's like
Yeah,
heel.
that's why when I just like stepped and turned, I didn't say it.
Technically you would because
Okay.
you're going into motion.
Because I started.
And you did lead with your left foot.
Right.
So you did that all correctly. You moved forward like this and then you did this and you went back.
Yeah.
Right? So you could have said heel there. You could have said heel there. No biggie. Okay. So in the beginning, my suggestion is that you do always use it when you go from stationary to motion. Because you're trying to cement in Walter's brain what that word is. Okay. Technically, when you've cued the word heel, as long as you're moving forward from a stop with the left leg every time, you don't need to repeat it, okay? Because it's in effect, okay? So as long as it's that left leg always moving when we go from stationary to motion, you technically don't need to repeat it, okay? So in the beginning, at least for the first couple of weeks, I tell everybody, do say it every single time for the dog's sake.
Right, he's learning it.
Correct. It usually takes dogs about 2 weeks to pick up on a concept and get a good association. At that point, if the owner's like, all right, I want to not say it every time I start moving again, I go, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that left leg is correct, okay? Now, the exception to the left leg is
He's sneaking away.
have you ever had Walter cross in front of you and sit in front of you like this?
I think more in the beginning when I was using it.
When you're using it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a very common problem.
Come on.
Because we keep making about right turns, the dogs will sit in front of the owner like that,
Right.
assuming like, oh, you're gonna turn to the right, I'm gonna catch it, so you do it, right? So if he's in front of me and I have to go forward, I say heel, but instead of using my left leg, I go forward with my right leg to bump the head out to the left.
Okay.
Because if you move left leg, you bump the butt out,
Yeah.
and then the dog's on your right side. Okay, so that's the exception. You'd still say heel, but it would be the right leg to correct him. And when we do so, I move through with quite a bit of power to bump the dog out the way to dissuade him from positioning himself like that. Okay.
Right.
So the correction isn't the remote. The correction is my knee. Okay. Questions so far about any of that stuff? So once you've cued, so technically if you come outside and you don't say anything to Walter, this is fine.
Yeah.
Peeing, pooping, sniffing, all that, pulling, all that
Right.
stuff. But the moment you cue heel, he comes into line, and it's his job to follow you, and it's your job to reinforce it. Okay. Once you've cued the break command, break means your job is done, and then he can go back to doing whatever it is he's doing. Okay. I think I may have talked about this, but like, let's say you're trying to get somewhere, and maybe you're still in training phase, right?
Yeah.
And you say heel, and it's like, oh crap, like I have to correct you too much that I'm not gonna get there in time, right? You stop, you sit, break, and then you just rush, right? Because you've cued a very clear, we're done and it's through, it won't affect your obedience. Okay, so if you walk with Walter like this, maybe it's a lazy walk, you know, it's like, or whatever, I don't really care about heel today. It doesn't work against your training because you didn't see the word. Okay, that's the main thing that affects people's obedience is they'll give the cue, and then they'll just kind of go like, well, I don't really need it right now, and they just like go relax without a definitive, clear command saying now you're off the clock. Okay.
Yeah.
Question so far?
No. He's like, I'm bored. Sit down.
So what we'll do here is we're going to say the heel again. I'm going to have you actually freestyle kind of all that stuff that you were doing.
Okay.
The pivots off the left leg, the crossover turns leading with the right leg, speeding up, slowing down, coming to stops, going back into heel. Okay?
Heel. So should I turn around if he's like not paying attention?
I got a prong. You want to use a prong?
Okay.
For now. Like just so you had some kind of correctional power.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about you came to a stop and he pivoted back to look
Yeah.
this way?
So
We would
would I
correct
turn
that.
because he turned though?
I would make him turn.
Okay.
I would correct him. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now.
So big or is it so skinny?
Yeah. There you go. Oh, sorry. Alrighty. So we'll try the same thing again.
Yeah.
So with the prong, just so you know, it's essentially the same exercise, but instead of pressing a button,
Okay.
you're having to top them on
Yeah.
the leash, right? Have you ever done leash corrections?
I mean, I don't know if I do them right. Like I was never thoroughly taught, I don't think.
Okay. So when we do a leash correction, it's meant to mimic a dog bite, right? It's supposed to be like this, very quick. And typically, when people put a prong on, they approach it as if the dog pulls too much, the spikes kick in,
Right.
and it deters the dog, right?
Right.
But that's not using the tool correctly, right? So like right now, how you're using it there, where you're putting pressure and you're guiding them
Yeah.
and directing them, that's more correct than just letting the leash itself,
Okay.
right? So if I walk and Walter goes past me with the prong, instead of what we would do is when you're going to turn, you would actually give a quick
Right.
jerk on the leash to correct him, and the intensity just depends on like the level of the distraction and stuff like that. So like, I'll tell you when to do it. I'll see how, like here, do an upward pop. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think that was?
I don't know, not very much.
The 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1 got him to sit down,
Right.
but if he kept getting up, what would that tell you?
To do it harder.
Do it firmer, right? You
Yeah.
got to escalate, just like with the remote, right? If 30 is not working, I go to 35, right? Same kind of concept, except now you're the intensity. Okay. So
Which I think I've noticed the difference between him and Bear in doing it. 'Cause
Sure.
With Bear, I'm like, you need like more.
Sure.
to like refocus and everything. Whereas like Walter, I can usually get away with like a lighter of a pull
Sure.
than Bears.
Sure. So like right now, because up until now he's been like obviously more distracted, right? So once you kick in with the firm correction, you should see a very big change in like, oh, okay, like you mean business right now, right? So just so you were, that was a 1, right? So as you're working with them, if everything's perfect after that 1, then 1 was the correct intensity. If it's not perfect, and I keep seeing he's dilly-dallying, then I go to firmer correction. Up. Good. Okay. And again, heel. So you're going to freestyle all that stuff. Good?
Yeah. So awkward for me.
When I work with people that are dancers or dance teachers, they pick it up real fast. Even before I say anything, because they see the leg movements. Good. Good. Good turn. Good turn. I would cut in a bit more. You see how you kind of stumbled out there? You want to make those real sharp.
Like hurts my knee. Like turning that bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because of his collar, or just like your knee?
No, it's just my knee. Yeah.
Good pivot. Good.
Heel.
More. Good. You see I got a little head there?
Yeah.
Heel. So you see how quick and firm that was? Good. You see how he's looking at his lips?
Yeah.
You see how he's very cautious?
Nervous.
Right? Because it was a good correction.
Right.
Okay? So,
Hi. You're fine.
when you see little things like that, if you're doing the prong, which is why I like e-collar more, because it's less confrontational for the dog. But if you know, it's good to know both tools. Is when people use the prong, they typically go softer.
Right.
Right? One, because of physicality, and also maybe they're not aware, right? Where I come in very sharp. And so even with the prong collar, I can get a dog healing within a couple of minutes because of I have the correction, right? So that big, right?
Yeah.
He was like, whoa, Jesse's not the
expecting
person I want to screw with, right? And I had a very heightened sense of awareness, just that one good correction, right? And I want you to just keep that in mind whenever you do e-collar or prong collar stuff. Once we've taught the concepts, okay, he's got a good concept now. It's going to take 2 weeks, okay? It's just a matter of, does he respect the command in the environment that we're in? That's all it is, and that just comes down to the power, okay? You know, if it's 30 here and he's perfect, awesome, and then you go to like, you know, the leg front, and then like maybe it's 55, you know, and then only in the beginning maybe it might be 55, but then after that you go there so many times it goes down to 30 like anywhere else, right? So just keep that, right, in mind. So here, you know, in just like 2 minutes he's gotten up like 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? I noticed those things.
Right.
That shows me the pushiness of the dog with their owner. Because what I just did right now isn't associated to you.
No.
It's associated to me, right? I'm the one who did it.
Right.
Which is why I like just coaching people now, because everything's related to them. and they're learning everything themselves. Okay, does all that make sense?
Yeah.
It's all clear.
Right.
So now, if you're using the prong collar, like let's say you go out and you're like, I'm not going to use the e-collar, and you say heel, you can still reinforce it, right? But you have to have that good correction in order to communicate that to him. Otherwise, he'll learn with the prong, I don't have to walk that well because it's not reinforced to the degree that it is e-collar. Okay?
Yeah.
Questions?
No.
Okay, let's try it again.
So whatever it is.
Yeah, with moving around, and because he got up a fourth time, if that happens, right when he's getting up, just a quick.
I don't always feel him.
Okay. What?
No, I said I don't always notice him. I feel like he's out of my sight.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't pay attention.
No,
you're good.
Is this a photo shoot?
Training.
Someone thought we were doing photos the other week too. Good.
We can switch out to my camera. I really look like that, Rem. Said I really look like that.
Good.
Heel.
Good.
Heel.
Good turn. That was a very good turn. And slow stop. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's heel. Okay. So his job is to pay attention to you. Your job is to make sure that you're communicating correctly with all those movements. Okay. In the beginning, what I suggest is before your walk, let him have his potty business, and then I'll do 5 heel to stops, 5 crossovers, 5 pivots, and then start your walk to develop your muscle memory. Okay. The hard part is now when you're walking, you have to time things.
Right.
Right. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna make a left at the stop sign. You gotta think about your
More to
legs.
think about.
Oh, right. So in the beginning, it's super awkward, but once you get used to it, it's like second nature. I can't do the wrong. Like I can't not do the right thing now.
Right.
It's so ingrained in me that if I try to force a mistake, like it's really awkward. So that's where slowing down is so important. Again, at least 3 steps. More is fine. If you need to do more, just make sure you get your legs correct for the turn. It's fine. Okay. If you lose Walter's attention on that slowdown, he's not paying attention. Do make sure to do your correction, the 180 remote or the prong correction. And if you need to go back the other way, you can just turn again, line them up, and then complete the left turn. Okay. Most common thing is when people come to a stop, the dog will forge a bit and they'll just yank them back because they're going to stop.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help your obedience. Okay. So it's more tedious in the beginning. Once you've taught everything, then you just like heel and then you walk and there's no work because the dog's already been trained. Okay. Questions about any of that stuff?
No.
How is he like with distractions on the walk? Does he like go for everything, or is he?
He's gotten a lot better because I've been like paying more attention when I know like he is like. Does this matter if he lays down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job.
Because I do notice his like squirrels and everything, of course.
Sure.
I would let him before like kind of go off and get him, but now I just like tap him and then we keep going.
Yes.
Like once I notice like he's really fixated on it and like really looking at that, whatever it is.
What I would do is, if you see him notice a squirrel, I give a little leeway.
Right.
And the moment you see it becoming too much,
like
right
he walks
there.
a little faster towards it.
Sure.
I'm like, no, we're not doing it, and we keep going.
Correct. Now, once you tap him, does he essentially like redirect, like, okay, we're in work mode, or is he still kind of like trying to keep around?
It depends on how much I tap it, I think.
Okay.
So I notice like if one and like he's still kind of looking, I'm like no, and like I just kind of keep doing it until he does go
Okay.
back. Because it's not,
Yes.
He'll
so,
keep looking if I don't keep on him.
I would play with the number a bit. It should be really simple within one. I have my 3-tap rule,
Yeah.
which is if I don't get a change within 3 taps, I bump it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think with walking too, it doesn't take that long because like we're moving.
Sure.
And he's like, all right, that's fine.
Right. So that's good. What was I going to say? So with prey drive, right? He's a dog. Like he's meant to chase, especially his breed, but like chase things. You guys are fine. Chase things, squirrels, rabbits, and all that stuff, right? Is I just want to know that I have control. Okay, so next class we'll start we'll start recall stuff. So do you have a 30-foot leash?
I have 50.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So for next class, have that with you
Okay.
because we're gonna start doing recall stuff. Okay. Once we get into recall mode, I love using stuff like that. Okay, so like my guys, if I say break, go chase the squirrels, I don't care that they do so because I've given permission. But I also know that they're gonna come back to my call.
Yeah.
Right. That's my main thing. So if we know he's got drive or a prey drive, I'll release the dog, let them have that at the tree and use that to my advantage to practice recall, but also use it to practice impulse control. Right? So if he's in a heel, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of trees with squirrels in them. I walk all around the trees, and then keep him in that tight heel, then I'll go break, and then he's free to do whatever he wants. Okay? So it'll help you kind of figure out more so what he needs in terms of power and stuff, what he's capable of, and like what needs work when there's like a distraction like that. Your training is only as good as the context that you expose them to.
Right.
So like here I like it here because it's really busy. If you practice in a very bland environment, yeah, it'll be great, but then as soon as you go out where there's like rabbits and squirrels and stuff, there'll be trouble. Okay? Questions about that? Okay. You started at 115, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna work on the stay.
Okay.
The way that I use stay and the way that most trainers teach it or use it is different. Most people go like sit stay or down stay or play stay. I just say sit down and place. Stay, I don't say stay.
Okay.
It's implied.
Right.
Okay? The only time I use stay is if the dog's already in position. Right? Good job. So like, how's that? Right now he's not in the sit. What is he in?
I don't know what term.
What's the last command you gave him?
Heel.
Yes. This is a heel. Right? So, because heel is a package. Walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop.
Right.
So for people, when they see this, they're like, the dog's gonna sit. I'm like,
No,
dog's
yeah, the
gonna
last
heel.
thing I said to him, yeah.
Correct, right? So it's an auto sit. So if we were to start moving again, his inclination would be to follow.
Right.
So here, human logic says, I can't say sit, he's already doing it. I could say down, but we've not taught that yet with these tools. I would say stay. Okay? Stay means now you're in, not stay in that position that you're in. Then it becomes a sit. Does that make sense? So what we're gonna do here.
Because then if I move, he shouldn't follow.
Correct.
Like it's not a
You're differentiating.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you do a quick heel. You'll walk down, come back. Once you come to that stop, with Walter on your left, right, he auto sits, you're gonna wait a moment. With your left hand, you're gonna just go like this and go stay. And you're gonna pivot out with your right leg, okay? Like this. So now you're facing Walter,
Okay.
okay? You're gonna do that for a quick moment, and then you're gonna move back to the side. When you step out here, I want you to have your leash how you have it,
Yeah.
and be prepared to have to pull up,
Okay.
because he might be inclined to follow you.
Right.
When you pull up, he should put his butt back down. You would relax, and then back to his side.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with the heel, and then I'll coach you through that first, okay?
Heel.
Right? Right, and keep it shorter. That's good. Right there. Up. That's fine. Good. And then pivot back to the side. Good. And then heel again. Good. Excellent. 3 more. There you go.
Heel. Stay.
Good. 2 more.
Heel. Okay.
Good. You thought about it.
Should I do it again?
We're gonna make it more hard. Okay. So what we're getting him used to is just the whole aspect of you stepping away from him and him not moving, right? So that one that kind of got jumbled up, right?
Yeah.
Is you gave the stay, pivoted out, and during the pivot out he moved, right?
Yeah.
So right there, you freeze, do the correction, let him settle, and then finish off the movement, okay?
Yeah.
I don't care how he lands, as long as he doesn't land next to you.
Okay.
Because what happens is, if I say stay, and I go like this, and the dog goes to follow, and I don't stop him there, and the dog comes here, they think that's what they were supposed to do, right? So I want to stop him away from me. I don't care if he ends up looking the wrong way. I just care that the butt goes down, and then I'll pivot back. You know, it doesn't matter how he's facing, heel, and then repeat. Okay. So if you see him about to move or moving as you're in that transition, you freeze, get the correction in, let him figure it out, and then finish it. What we're gonna do now is add a half moon movement. So you're gonna do the same thing, stay, pivot out, wait a moment, and then you're gonna move around him on the front half like a half moon. Okay. During this process, if Walter, because what happens is he's watching you, it's that the dogs will, like, as they're sitting, do this.
Yeah.
You don't correct them.
Okay.
Because the butt's on the ground, it's a little loophole. Okay. So that tends to correct itself once the dog understands, like, oh, you're moving around me, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
So, but if he stands up or lays down, that you would pull up to correct. As long as that butt's on the ground, you don't need to do anything. Okay? So we'll do the same thing. We're going to look at the heel, stay, pivot out, wait, and then half moon around.
Heel.
Good.
Okay.
Good. 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 Back to the side. Up. There you go. Good. 4 more.
Heel.
Good. Excellent. Good. 3 more. That chair's been stuck like that.
It'll stay forever. It bothers everybody. It doesn't bother me.
2 more.
Heel.
Good. Try walking, give a firm correction. Pivot back or turn, there you go.
It's like not even. Heel. Stay.
Good. Now what you're going to do here is go ahead and come in next to Walter. Go ahead and praise him.
Oh, I will.
And he's still in the state. You're going to step out again. He shouldn't move, but be prepared to correct him.
Okay. Step like pivot again.
With the right leg, yep, but you don't say anything. Right up. There you go. Perfect. Like that. Good. Very good. And back to the side. So when you hit the Frenchie over there,
Yeah.
you gave a couple of corrections.
Yeah.
Do you know why he wasn't focusing?
I'm sure it wasn't hard enough.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. They were all the same intensity.
Right.
You had good speed on one of them, but the actual biting pressure,
Right.
it wasn't there.
Right.
Okay. So it's good to know like how to use a prong, whatever. When people do remote, I'm like really don't worry about it.
Right.
But if you
So like every time I'm pulling would be a button press, basically,
correct,
right?
but instead of dialing higher, you would go pull harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, with the
Okay.
prong, yeah.
And then when you do so, like evaluating, like was that a 1 to a 10? Is usually how I gauge things.
I can tell that this one's harder for me to pull. Like I'm not used to like these little links take more effort to move than mine. I
Sure.
do notice that, but yeah.
The other thing is with the bigger links, it takes more physical force to get the same type of biting pressure because the other ones are smaller.
Yeah.
Right. That's another factor.
Right.
So all that stuff is correct. So when you have yours, you may have to adjust a little bit, but once you get used to it, it's like
Yeah.
whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that was.
I know
good.
that I don't pull very hard on the other one either, but I'm saying I noticed this one just because it is the bigger, which is a learning curve right now.
Yeah. Otherwise, like I know once remote kicks in, it's like I'm not gonna worry about
Yeah.
anything. So I always think about stuff. So when I like train my puppies, I'll ask the owner like, "Are you gonna do e-collar training?" Because they always ask like, "How do I make the obedience better?" I'm like, "Well, it's really a waste of time if you just use food, because at some point it goes out the window." And I was like, "If you're gonna do e-collar, I don't even worry about it."
And like I don't know, my dogs, I never get dogs that are like that interested in food.
Oh,
So I just feel
right.
like I'm like this is a waste of time.
Sure. And then like how we taught the stay and stuff is easier for him because that's how they taught it during the head start. So they pick up on it faster. Now you're just laying pressure over that. So if you did this with the e-collar, it would be the same exercise. If you got up, you would pull up, but it wouldn't be as pronged. You would be tapping to get the butt to go back down again.
Okay.
Okay. So now, when it comes to actually practicing the stay, in my opinion, it's like the least useful command. Okay, but I teach it because it's just part of the repertoire. Is when you're on a walk, let's say he poops, and instead of like pulling while you're trying to pick up the poop, I'll pull up and tap him into a sitting position, give the stay, because we haven't taught sit yet.
Yeah.
Pick up the poop, whatever, back to the side, heel, right? We see a trash can, stay, still hold on to the leash.
Right, but it gives you that
Yeah, just
area.
using,
Yeah.
just to get used to that concept of stay means I move, you don't. Or if you're at a red light, you get the stay, practice at the red light, walking around and stuff, and then come back, green, heel, there we go. Okay, so you're teaching Walter to differentiate. Heel means walk with mom, stay means mom's gonna move, you're not gonna move. Okay, so you don't really have to set up a training time to work on stay. You just apply it during your walk. Okay, questions on any of that stuff?
No.
So what we'll do is the next step would be stay and then a full circle around Walter. This is where puppies or dogs tend to do the pivot. So again, if he shuffles and he keeps that butt on the ground, nothing that we correct there. If the butt does come up, you would absolutely pull up and correct that. Okay? So we'll go back to those and then we'll tap it there.
Heel. Stay. And just walk literally around him.
Yep. Very good.
Heel.
Good. 4 more.
Stay.
psych them out there, huh? Good, 3 more. Good, yep, you good. Excellent.
Oh, lying on him?
Yeah.
Once you move. So now I'm gonna
Yeah, you're fine, yeah. Good. 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 Excellent. Go ahead and bring them back. Go ahead and stop them like right here. Go ahead and go into a stay.
Okay.
Yep. And then pivot out. And go ahead and do a quick walk around. What you're gonna do here is instead of going to Walter's right shoulder, you're gonna come to his left shoulder, but you're gonna be facing that way.
Okay.
So you're gonna stand to him. Right there. Right there. Good. So he moved. Okay. So when you asked earlier, should I line up with him? Right. In that moment, yes. But when we do the heel, this is like a gray area. As long as the dog's to your left, you don't have to be to the right shoulder.
Okay.
Right. So if he was still facing that way, you would say heel, and he would just do this.
So it's his job to move.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. It's your job to make sure that he's on your left, but how he's facing doesn't matter. When the dog has good concept of the word heel, because then he's like, oh, mom's moving, and I know I need to go to her left leg, right? So you can change things up that way, you know, if you want.
Like even this, like if he moves and I told him to stay, and he was facing this side.
That would have been fine.
Still fine.
Because he's on your left.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it.
Let me think here. So to progressively make this harder, like once we get to the long leash phase, which will be next class, we can now start going greater distances, okay, in terms of the stay and stuff. Right now, keep everything on leash, keep it the length of your leash. And then like earlier, you came in, you praised them, hey, good boy, and then you stepped out again to add distraction.
Which I think even now is why he moved.
True, yeah.
I stopped.
Yeah, and you're, because you went a different side as well, so he's thinking, oh, like, what are we doing here, right? So, little things like that, if you come up with little things to like distract them, like if I have a dog that's great ball drive, excuse me, I'll bounce the ball, right, as I'm walking around him and correcting him and stuff, and then I'll stop, break, and then throw the ball. So that's the reward. Sit still, you might just get to run and chase this, okay? So I'm using things to my advantage. You know, when we use aversives, I'm not against food or treats or toys or anything like that to incorporate as a reward. I just don't rely on them to teach a reliable level of obedience. Okay, so yeah, if he's got great ball drive and stuff, and over time, that's how you can still practice stuff
He's an alcoholic.
on a regular basis to keep it. You know, your playtime is your training time, and he's working for the reward as well. So it makes it that much more rewarding for him. Okay. Questions about any of that stuff?
No.
So you have your homework for the week. You have the full package of heel. Now we have to stay. We start working on that stuff together, and then next week we'll start working on the long leash recall.
Okay.
So you want to make sure you have that 50-foot leash. And then, yeah, go from there.
Okay.
Okay.